Hello, welcome to the demo. Save time and make customers happier via integration and automation. Presented to you today by Tray.io. First, we'll hit a few housekeeping items. All audio is in listen-only mode. So if you have any questions during or at the end of today's webinar, please submit them through the webinar chat window in your lower left. And don't worry about taking notes. We'll record this session and email it to all registrants over the next day or so. With that, let's get started and introduce our speakers for today. This is Alex Ortiz. I'm the VP of Marketing at Tray.io, and I come with 15 years experience at various high-growth SaaS companies like Salesforce, Host Analytics, QuanticMind, and a couple others. And I had the pleasure of working at Salesforce in the customer success team, doing a lot of packaging and marketing of all of their services, support, training, consulting, and so on. So this is a topic today that is near and dear to my heart. And here we have Andrew Wiseman, who's joining me today.
Hey, glad to be here with you guys. I come from a background of business process automation and design, as well as software development. So I help people realize how their business use cases can be translated onto the platform and make sure you're successful.
Great, thanks, Andrew. So let's tackle the agenda for today. It'll be fast and furious. I'll first hit just some key points on why automation matters to customer success teams. Then we'll transition into quite a few live demos, and we'll cover a couple typical use cases that we see our customers using Tray for, and then we'll point you to more resources where you can learn more about Tray and other best practices. Finally, we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A, so start thinking about questions, and we'll handle those at the end. So first I want to set the stage for today's demo and share with you a couple of tidbits that we found out there from some reputable sources like Harvard Business Review, Forbes, and McKinsey. And it really just reminds us on how important it is to get a customer success operation right. And there's all sorts of very quantifiable business benefits to automate and provide high customer success. Some of these are pretty compelling stats. New customers costing 5 to 25 times more than keeping external ones or existing ones. That the fact that emotion matters and that brands are losing their customer experience scores in 2017. And then, of course, happy customers, well, it's not only just about the renewal, it's about cutting costs from 15 to 25% over the span of 2 to 3 years. That's a really eye-opening one for me. And then, of course, happy customers tend to grow faster than others, and that's an important stat as well. So that's just the stage on why should we be even focusing on automating and integrating support workflows. And you might ask yourself, well, who else is doing this? Is this a pie-in-the-sky kind of thing, or is this mainstream, or what? And what I can share with you is that we have companies of all sizes using Tray to automate not just support, but also every department, marketing, sales, ops, IT, and product. Within today's demo, we're going to highlight a couple from Vox Media, Vistorly, and a few others, just on the support side. But I think what's apparent to me, and I think to many, is that we all use a lot of SaaS apps, especially in support, but automating just within support that's step one, but getting it automated into finance so that your finance apps are talking to your support apps, that your sales apps are talking to your support apps, that basically you have a stack that's integrated. That's going to help not only the support team, but every team across a company. You might also ask, well, what sort of workflows are people integrating and automating? And we're going to highlight just a couple. There's many more. It's not going to fit on one slide, but on the support side of the house, what we see our customers using Tray for is to automate the onboarding of new customers, to really streamline the post-sales process. We see customers prioritizing their service level agreements and their support queues based on value of account and other critical factors. We see customers that are integrating across different CRMs. Sometimes your sales organization uses a different CRM than your support organization. It's important to keep those two systems in sync. And then, of course, there's a lot of activity around churn risk detection, and we're going to share a couple workflows that might be helpful to you there. And so the quote you see at the bottom really just is a testament to the flexibility of Trey's platform and its ability to handle custom fields and other things that are particular to a person's company that are very custom. And so what we say is to our customers is that you could Trey mold, or you can mold Trey to your process, just to your way of doing things. So now is kind of the exciting part. We're going to get into a couple of use cases. I'll set up the customer situation, and then Andrew will show you a demo of what it looks like within Trey. Our first use case comes from Vox Media, which you might recognize. It's a huge media brand that has a lot of different properties, from sports to lifestyle and several other media properties. And they had a huge pain point between sales and support. And what was going on was, a salesperson would close a new deal, a new media buy, and then toss it over to the support team, but none of the data that was collected during the sales process got into the support people's hands. And so there was either a loss of data, and the support team wasn't able to benefit from it, or they had to rekey in stuff manually into Asana, and Asana was their task and project management software that's used within the support team. So what we did for Vox Media was show them a very quick and easy integration between Salesforce and Asana, so that way when a new customer comes on, all the data is populated automatically into Asana. And what this did for them overall was it increased reduced the project creation time by 20-fold. So 20-fold increase in productivity for Vox Media's support team. So next I'd like to invite Andrew to show you what this looks like within Trey.
Cool, thanks Alex. I'll go ahead and share my screen and show you how to get this set up. So essentially the core part of Vox's use case actually made use of one of our pre-built templates. We've worked with Asana from a partnership perspective to build out some core integrations that allow project management items to be weaved in with other teams who are working out of other systems. And in this example, we're going to weave project management in with Salesforce. It just happens the team that's managing the product is the project in this instance is the support team. So to look at our pre-built templates, you'll just go to our library. We can filter by service and look at Asana. And you'll see there's a few kind of common business logic use cases that we have in production here. The one that pairs most closely with this is create Asana projects for new Salesforce opportunities. So this use case obviously was a little bit more custom, and one of the great parts about these templates is we're not really innately a big template business, and that's because clients come to us because they have a use case that they can't build on other systems and they still want to own it, but it has a higher level of complexity than kind of a template can provide for them. So they can download a template and then change the template to make it tailored exactly to their use case. So just to show you how these templates work, you'll see there'll be a brief description on kind of how to use it out of the box, what type of data movement you should expect, and whatnot, and then maybe some frequently asked questions. We can click Use Template at the top and name it whatever you'd like, and then we'll click Save, and this essentially gives us a little dialog box and installs the template into our personal Trey account. We'll walk through a few configuration steps where we choose our Asana account. Essentially what we're doing here is when a Salesforce opportunity is created, we think that we would like a specific set of tasks to be executed by a team member. So we're automatically cloning a templated project and assigning that out to a specific member of our team. And the way our customer study has kind of customized this is they've changed the assignment rules. So, say you want to assign specific tasks in the project to different members of your team based on the type of new customer that you're acquiring. Maybe you want various templates based on what area of the business the new customer is, or maybe they're in a specific vertical within your specific department. So we're just gonna, to continue walking through the template. You can choose your workspace. That you choose the team that you're working out of. It's very easy to install this template for multiple teams in your organization and have everyone own an individual version of it. So you can have completely different business logic within your Tray account. And then for this install, we're going to choose a specific project to copy. I'm just going to choose our Salesforce template and continue along. I'm going to use my normal Salesforce account. And then at this point, we are ready to go. So all I'd have to do is click Enable this template, and it would start listening for opportunities to be created and automatically clone the Asana project that we specified. But just to show you a quick kind of way to customize this is we have a lot of clients that will say, hey, this isn't necessarily relevant to me when the opportunity is created. I want this to happen when the opportunity stage is equal to close won, because that means that the deal cycle is at a stage where we actually should start performing work, and we can get the success team involved and get them prepared to onboard this new client and make sure they're completing the appropriate set of tasks. So all we have to do is we're already pulling back the opportunity after it's created. We do a little Salesforce query with one of our connectors, and let's just drag a Boolean and say, is the opportunity stage equal to closed won? So if the opportunity stage is equal to closed won, then we go ahead and drag everything else in our workflow into the true branch. So at this point, we can see if it's closed won, we execute the rest of the logic in the flow. If it's not, it's just a stage change that we're not actually interested in. So, that's kind of a really quick example to say you've gotten this out of the box template. You can kind of read through the logic, see how it works within Tray. It's very straightforward, and then making customizations to it are very, very simple.
Great. Thank you for that, Andrew. Next, we'll move on to our next case study. So I want to share this story of Vestorly with you. And Vestorly is an AI-powered marketing newsletter software, fast-growing, venture-backed startup. And they had a really interesting challenge that I think a lot of organizations struggle with. And the challenge for the support team was how to prioritize their support queues based on account value, payment status, and SLA. And one of the core challenges there was a lot of that data on whether or not a customer had paid their invoice was sitting in Stripe, their payments platform, and it wasn't connected to Salesforce, so obviously hard to prioritize on data that's not available to you in support. And so what the finance director did there, Jonathan Tartell, was integrate these two systems using Tray, and it's a pretty easy notion to basically be able to pipe the invoice status into the Salesforce support cloud. So that way the support team has at their fingertips payment status, and then also SLA. Some of their customers pay a higher SLA for faster support time, and that's captured again in the payment system, and it's important to get that over to Salesforce so the support team sees it available. So with that, I'll pass it back to Mr. Andrew Wiseman to show you what it looks like in Tray.
Absolutely. So this is a really cool use case, a really high ROI on this case. we essentially, we're just connecting Stripe and Salesforce, and as Alex has, lined up, having the value from customer Stripe accounts in Salesforce is extremely valuable because you don't want to give attention to people who aren't paying, who are delinquent in their contracts, and you also want to be able to segment attention between clients who are on lower and higher kind of success plans that you can see within Stripe. So to developing this is actually fairly straightforward, and most of the time when we connect to a client's services, we'll do a historical sync. So that is essentially where Tray can function as kind of an ETL tool and extract all of your data from one service, transform it, and load it into another service. And after we do that initial load, so this essentially says, I want to have all Stripe contracts synced into Salesforce historically for the last year, because that will help me manage customers who are relevant within the last year. And from there on out, we can do kind of more of a real-time sync and just keep the systems updated as new data becomes available. So for the demo, we're just going to use a manual trigger. And let's say we want to pull all of our, all of our customers out of Stripe. So we're going to list our customers. We're going to loop through each customer. So we'll say loop customers. So we just passed in the entire list of customers that we found from this step. And now every iteration of this loop is processing a single customer. And this is what allows us to kind of break down all the large data stacks in your various systems and process them element by element. So whether it's trimming out to make sure there are no invalid email addresses, whether it's doing an enrichment call to a service like Clearbidder and Prospect or Bright Verify, or whether it's as simple as just using an email address within a Stripe customer record to query and find an associated Salesforce contract. So let's say find contract in Salesforce. So I'm going to use my normal Salesforce authentication. I'm going to find records of type contract. So this drop down here automatically queries your Salesforce account. We can connect to Salesforce Sandbox as well as prod and all custom objects and records within Salesforce. So we often have clients who will set up very custom instances of Salesforce for whether it's managing specific types of financial data or any other support data and whatnot. And they'll have custom record types, and they'll come to us because they need to populate them in real time, and we can always access them. So let's say we want to find contract. We'll pull back the contract ID because that's best practice. And then we'll say we want the email address associated with the contract to be equal to the email of the customer we're currently processing. So this shows us all the data that we can match up with a quick drag and drop menu. So we see email here. We can select that. Let's make a quick Boolean, because if we find the contract, let's go ahead and update it maybe with the Stripe ID. If we don't find the contract, maybe we want to create a lead and have someone or some other type of record and have someone either a human review it to make sure that we want to create a contract, or we could also just go ahead and create a contract in Salesforce. So contract exists. So we'll say if the total count of records that come back to this call is greater than 0, right? Then we're going to update contract. So let's just say let's update a record of type contract. The record ID comes from this step where we just found, and that's why we return the contract ID. The record fields, you can update as many as you want. So we could merge a ton of data from Stripe into here. So let's say we had something called Stripe. We don't have it personally, but say we had Stripe ID. We could map in the value of this loop, and it would be ID down here. And maybe you want to add in Stripe billing address, right? just go ahead and map over here, find the billing address. Let's see, might be returned in a different call, but let's just say trial start date. Let's change it to that. So trial start date. And then, it's very clear from here that you can continue mapping as many fields as you'd like, and then take additional conditional logic if the contract doesn't exist. It's very easy to, do a different Salesforce call or send someone a notification to say, this client or customer is in Stripe. They're not in Salesforce. This deserves some special attention. Let's check it out. But what I personally found really cool about this client, I worked very closely with them, and we were working with a finance director, and he was able to, after about a 1-hour training session, he was able to build all of this himself. It was really impressive, and it really kind of reverberates the idea that you don't need a developer to create integrations today.
Great, and that's the big story, is that integration's now for everyone, and we have people from all walks of life, non-developers, who are integrating their processes on Tray. Okay, next up, we've got another support use case. I'm sure lots of companies struggle with this one, and it's a situation in which your sales team picks one CRM and your support team picks another. And there's lots of reasons for companies to do so. Sometimes they're pursuing a best-of-breed strategy, and what's important is after those tools are selected that they are set up to sync bidirectionally. And that way, nothing is dropped, nothing is lost between the sales and support teams, and that people can focus on the job at hand and not on wrangling data from one system to another. And we actually have a company out of South Africa called Acceleration that builds these integrations for their customers. It's a consultancy. And what's important for them is that every single one of their end user customers has their CRM systems customized in different ways. And custom fields are a big part of the value of Salesforce and other applications. And if you think about it, the more customized your platform is, sometimes traditionally it used to be harder to integrate with, but what we have here in a flexible platform like Tray is the ability to take all those customizations and make sure it's valuable across your organization and all the different apps that you might use. So let's pass it back to Andrew to see how this looks in Tray.
Sure. So for this one, the core use case is performing a bidirectional sync between Zendesk and Salesforce. And your first thought might be, well, Zendesk already has an out-of-the-box integration with Salesforce. Why don't I just use that? The truth is that is only a single direction of integration, and it's not enough for some clients. So we will, work with Zendesk to essentially enhance that integration so things can move both ways, things can move into custom fields, and things can move in kind of custom directions, right? So their big use case was they wanted to make sure that clients were active in both systems and that they weren't interacting with clients who, similarly to Festerly, weren't paying their bills, who weren't actually still with their company, and who were actually kind of partners or clients that they were interested in talking to with their current business plan. So, to create this workflow, let's just call this a Zendesk to Salesforce sync to start. With a bidirectional sync, you'll usually choose a trigger, which is what starts the flow off. And for this example, we can just say we'll use a Zendesk trigger. The Tray trigger is unique in that it is a real-time trigger. So there's no delay, there's no waiting 5 or 10 minutes for us to pull data and see if there's anything new. As soon as something is available, it immediately fires and hits this workflow, and then the whole set of logical steps you have here is executed. So let's just say when a ticket is updated in Zendesk, we want to perform a series of logical operations. This will probably look very similar to the other flow. Essentially, we'll just kind of do a Salesforce call and try to find the associated record, you see this kind of gets faster. You understand what I'm about to do, right? Boolean, if it's found. If it is found, maybe we want to update it. So let's see. We'll find a contact. Contact found, right? And we'll say update contact. So essentially here, this returns a record. So we'll find a contact where let me just enter in my authentications. Contact. Hopefully you're thinking, oh wow, I could do this myself right now. It's just a bunch of drag and drops, some simple logic. He's going to pull back the contact ID, and then we'll say we want the email address on the contact to equal the email address from this ticket. So I think, I'm not sure where it is, but I'm just going to type in email. That's a big list. So trigger.email. So we essentially are finding a contact that's associated with the ticket of the Zendesk user, right? So if it's found, greater than 0, then we go ahead and update it. So, this is essentially saying whenever these tickets are updated, we want to make sure both systems are in sync. So imagine the exact reverse for Salesforce to Zendesk. So if something was updated in Salesforce, this would be a Salesforce connector. We'd find the associated contact or other type of entity in Zendesk. If it's bound, we'd go ahead and update it. And this is a very simple type of logic at first, but then you start adding in complex things like maybe you want to perform a transformation step, and you want to say if a user meets one or more criteria, then you want to map them into different Salesforce record types. Maybe you want to say if a user is in one of multiple lines of business, you want to mark them as a singular entity in Salesforce, so that's creating kind of a many-to-one or a one-to-many relationship, depending on which direction you're syncing. It's very kind of easy to add on here with the platform.
Great, thanks. So there you have it, syncing your support in Sales CRM in a few minutes. That's amazing. Next, I want to walk you through two use cases that are near and dear to my heart, and that is automating the NPS process. In many companies, this is a manual process where you have to decide when to trigger it, who you're going to send it to, and while it's not a big pain, it can add up over time. And just like anything, if you have to do it manually more than 3 times, you should probably invest the time to automate it so you don't have to think about it. So the first is this, and that is, why don't you just trigger an NPS survey based on a stage change in Salesforce? So when an opportunity goes to closed won, and then maybe you have a little delay in there before you send the survey, and then you can have your survey getting triggered as you're closing new business, or really based on any stage. So for this, I'm going to share my screen. I'll walk you through a couple of the Tray workflows here. So first, we'll take a look at this one, NPS survey via Promoter.io. We happen to use Promoter, but there's lots of different NPS survey software out there, but we do like Promoter. It works well for us. So, this is a pretty easy one. We just have a scheduled trigger here, and we make sure we're setting the current time. And the way we've decided to manage our NPS is to send it a month after we win a deal in Salesforce. So what you see here with the date time helper is just a way to add in a delay step and a timeout, basically to schedule out when you want to send it after a certain event changes. We also have these handy-dandy date time helpers. So we use these when the date stamp coming out of Salesforce is a different format than the date stamp that Promoter uses. And it's important to get these things exactly right, so that way the data integrity remains clean. And if you were to do this manually, you'd be having to use Excel and concatenate and doing a lot of manual data manipulation. And here we've just been able to automate it with Helper. Next, we're going to get closed-won opportunities, as we said, and we're going to go through each one that gets closed-won, and we're going to look for their contact roles. Usually, we send this to primary contact roles in Salesforce, but you could choose any number of contact roles. And as we go through and get contact roles, we check to see if we've already sent them a survey, and we put these steps in as a just in case, because sometimes before we put this workflow in, we'd been sending surveys based on some different logic. So again, we're just checking to see if a survey was already sent. If it's true, we get the account out of Salesforce, we make sure it's the correct account, and then we send the Promoter survey, which is really the end step we're looking for. So we did a couple logic checks to make sure that we're sending the survey to the right person based on the right field change in Salesforce, and lo and behold, send the survey out via Promoter. So pretty easy stuff. And what I want to show you next is a different use case here. And what I'll show you is the next one is near and dear to my heart, because I really struggled with my last couple companies. And the situation is to get that NPS score out of Promoter and back into Salesforce. And there's reasons to do this for both marketing and support. Obviously your marketing team wants to know who's your happiest customers, and your support team wants to know the churn risk customers. And so I set up this webinar myself, and so I'm not a coder. I've no coding degrees, and I could do this myself. I happen to use a webhook to Promoter, and webhook is just a way for Trey to sync up with Promoter. So any data changes in your account of Promoter will trigger a workflow in Salesforce. So if we get a survey result back, it knows to automatically update Trey, which will automatically update Salesforce as data streams in. And again, this is real time, no delay. It's instant gratification. And what I'm about to show you is actually probably a little bit more complex than what you might need. But the reason why we have a little bit of added complexity is we happen to survey not only new customers, but also people in the trial program. And that's why we are checking to see if the survey response is coming from a lead or a contact, and a contact being an opportunity, lead being someone that's likely in the trial. So we just use the same if-then logic that Andrew has shown you, the Boolean, and we try to figure out that response, if it's a contact or a lead. And if it happens to be a contact, that the contact exists, very simple, update the contact with the NPS score. And here we're taking 3 pieces from the NPS survey. We're taking the actual score. This is usually the 0 through 10 score. We're pulling over the customer satisfaction comment, that's free text that we send within the survey. And then we also keep track of the customer sat response date, so we know how long it's been since the last time they filled out a customer sat survey with an NPS score. And that's it. If it happens to be a lead, there's a couple other steps that we want to do, like get the user by the email, check to say that their name exists. Sometimes we have data inconsistencies in our Salesforce, and if that's the case, we're actually creating a net new lead based on the information coming out of Intercom, and we're updating the lead. So here, very simple again, but once we were able to automate this, then we could really stop thinking about like who's getting it, but focus more on customer support and marketing. So let's go back to the webinar here. Just a minute. And I'm happy to report that by doing so, we really drove visibility of our NPS across the company. We set up a alerting workflow in Slack where the whole company gets to see what our NPS score is, and luckily it's very high here at Tray. We take customer success very seriously and make sure that our customers are happy, and they've rewarded us with a extremely high NPS score. Now, the next use case I want to talk with you about is one in which we're combining data signals from across our applications to get a true 360 view of customer health. And this is going to help us either prevent churn or pinpoint upsell opportunities or even marketing opportunities. And in this case, I'm not going to show you a bunch of workflows. What I want to do is talk you through how to think about it, and I'm going to point you to some more resources to learn more. But basically what we want to do here is bring together data that's sitting in your product database that's logging usage of your product, of your SaaS application. We want to bring in analytics data to see how your users are behaving, whether they've adopted the software or not. And then also, bring in that survey data that we just showed you, some of that NPS data, some of that customer sat data, to also inform your view of customer health. And when you do that, what you can do is basically get a day-by-day, minute-by-minute view of how your customers are adopting your platform and whether or not they're successful. And you can then work on strategies to either increase adoption and satisfaction or even think about upselling. What I want to show you is a blog post that I wrote that really highlights the conceptual approach to tracking churn and customer success. And I'll just say, after the webinar, take a look on the Tray blog, and we've got kind of a pretty in-depth article here on how to approach it. I've got some instructional articles step-by-step on what I just showed you on integrating the NPS survey into Salesforce. And then also I've got another blog here about curbing customer churn with preemptive workflows. So just some ideas out there for you to sink your teeth in on ensuring customer success. And the last use case I want to offer you is one from one of our customers and partners, ProsperWorks, which is a fast-growing CRM company that's really built around the Google Cloud Suite. And what we're doing for ProsperWorks is fueling their integrations not only internally through ProsperWorks, and we've integrated their entire support stack, but we're also doing it on behalf of their customers. So ProsperWorks customers are using Tray as well to integrate their different stacks. And what was important for ProsperWorks was a user-friendly way to integrate, an easy place to learn how to integrate, and also not top out at that. They wanted something that could also handle the complexity that they're seeing some of their larger customers ask for. And Justin Oberbauer there, the VP of Customer Success, really appreciated that they could connect all their critical software and help them run the business and scale quickly. They really are a fast-growing organization. And really, that's the big theme for 2018, is that we're now in an era where technology is both powerful enough and easy enough that anyone can automate, whether you're a customer success lead, a CS manager, or a VP of customer success. You now have a platform that is designed for you to have all the flexibility you need to integrate and make your job more productive. So in terms of resources I'd point you to, again, check out our blog, subscribe to it. We'll be offering up more ideas of what we're seeing some of our top-notch customer success organizations doing with Tray. I'd also offer you to take a look at some of our case studies. We have that Vox Media case study in longer form on our website on the customers section. And if you want to go deeper on your specific use case, just hit the Get a Demo link on our website. We'd be happy to talk with you on a one-on-one situation to get a deep understanding of what you need done and offer some ideas on how to get it done. With that, we'll pick up the Q&A section with the 3 minutes we have remaining. And the first question here, which I'll point at Andrew, is what if I don't have time to do this myself? Do you guys offer any help or assistance in building out workflows?
Absolutely, that's a great question. And Tray offers a full spectrum of services to help you out, from online content to read, to our chat box at the bottom of your workflow builder, where you can have access to 24-hour support from our teams in San Francisco and London. We also offer training sessions. So when some clients will prefer us to set up their first workflow in a fully managed approach and then train them on how to use it, because the optimal goal is for you to own your own flows. So we'll deliver it to you and provide you with a quick, 1-hour training session, or you can opt for a more formalized session as part of one of our success plans. And then, we have success plans that vary from, touch points monthly to a fully managed approach where we build all of your integrations for you. So it really kind of depends on how you'd like to approach the situation, but regardless of what you use, we have you covered.
Got it. Thanks, Andrew. So we'll have time for one more question, and it looks like I'll take this one. The question is, how does Tray.io differ from some other integration platforms like Boomi or the others? And I'll answer this one. And essentially what it is Tray is designed for mid-market enterprise customers, and we've really designed our tool for business users. The reality is devs and product folks also really like Tray, but we wanted to make sure that it's easy enough for a customer success professional to go in and automate. And also, we're fully scalable, so no matter what your data volume is, whether it's billions of tasks a month, we can handle that. And we also have all the enterprise security that our larger public and Fortune 500 customers require to use tools. And so that's why we've got the power and the security that enterprise needs while still being flexible and intuitive for business people. And that's where we really excel in the marketplace. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this webinar, and we'll see you in a week or two for our next one. Thank you.